Welcome, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Inspire SA. My name is Narcis Mbuyu, and I'm the host for today's session. Today, we have a special guest all the way from Pakistan. It's the first time ever we have a guest presenter on the show on Inspire SA, and I'm really looking forward to it. They'll be starting off a three-part series called Getting Started with Web Development and Open Source Code, basically. So without wasting any more time, I'm just going to invite him. We are live on Teams. Let me share my screen quickly so that we can welcome him onto the show. Welcome, Mohammed. Can you hear me? Yes. Welcome, Mohammed. Can you hear me? Or is I both muted?
Yes, I can hear you. Give me a minute.
Okay, no problem. So, as Mohammed is preparing himself, I'll just like to give you a bit of a bio about Mohammed. He's from Pakistan. Is a web development. Just look for his bio. So, are you ready, Mohammed? Mohammed, you still there?
Yes, I am here.
Okay, cool. So a bit about Mohammed is a front-end developer, an open source contributor, and is also an alpha student ambassador. He has 2 years of experience with front end. He has a passion for responsive website and design, and is a firm believer in the mobile first approach. So that's just a bit about Mohammed. I don't want to say too much about him. I'm going to let him continue, and he's going to also tell us what he has in store for today's session. Over to you, Mohammed.
Yes, thank you. Hello, everyone. Hope you all are good. Uh, what are your expectations from today's session? And also tell your country in chat. Let's wait 5 minutes more so everyone can join. Let's wait 5 minutes more so everyone. Am I audible?
Yes, you're audible, Mohammed. We can get started as we are live on YouTube. People are watching, and they'll be able to watch of anytime they want. So we don't really need to wait for anyone to join. We can proceed.
Okay, so let's start. So today's session is all about websites. We will discuss how website works and what are the components of websites and how we can start developing websites. So this is me. My name is Mohammad Samiullah. I'm a front-end developer. I have been a front-end developer for 2 years. I am also an open source contributor. I am a part of GulfScript open source program, GulfScript Winter of Contributing, and GulfScript Summer of Code. In GulfScript Winter of Contributing, I am in top contributors in front-end development domain. And recently I completed GulfScript Summer of Code, which is also a 3-man open source contribution program. Currently, I am contributing in Microsoft repositories. I am also ACM technical team member, and as Netsi introduced me. I'm also a Microsoft Land Elf ambassador. So let's discuss agenda of today's session. First, we will discuss how website works. Then we will move to web development. Then we will discuss the components of a website. Then in the last, we will see how we can host our website using Azure Static Web App Service. So let me tell something about my experience. When I was in school, I was like every child. I was studying the curriculum, the academics. I was busy in academics. I don't know about anything technology. One day, my brother came to me. Hello, am I audible? Okay, okay. So yeah, I was telling when I was a kid, I have no idea about the technology. I was just studying the normal school stuff. One day, my brother came to me and asked me, "Why don't you start Sami's doing programming?" So I asked him, "How can I do programming? Where I should I start?" So my elder brother tell me, "You should go on W3 school and see how it can work." And next day he show me by typing simple HTML code. So first he tell me on Notepad. So it was very difficult to write on Notepad the whole syntax of the HTML. It was very irritating for me at first. So I make simple website. I write hello world, and this is my first heading. Then I stop it. I was like, I cannot do this. This is very irritating and takes a lot of time, and it is very difficult to write. So stopped the things around 6 months. I don't do programming for 6 months. But when my summer vacation started, so I thought I should start it again and see and do some research. There may be more ways to do in better way programming. So I search on Google, how can I write code better in better way, and I search how I can do what I can do with HTML. So I find Visual Studio Code, which is an IDE where I can code, and it can autocorrect the mistakes, auto format the code. I can also see the live preview of my website. So it's make me curious more about the websites. So I start learning more about websites from YouTube, Coursera, edX, Udemy, and I start developing websites. After that, my exam came and got busy in exams. After the exam, COVID's come and every gets close, and in COVID's time, like studies stop, school get off, everything's went off. So I search on LinkedIn, what are the opportunities, what boot camps are going on, what sessions are going on technology. I attend many sessions on technology. I explore more about the technology. Then I find an internship called Interns Pakistan, which is 1 month internship program for front end development. I attend that program. I learned more about JavaScript, and I learned more about how to make website responsive, which helps me a lot. I created 3 projects in that internship. After that, I build my portfolio. I create my first GitHub account and I add my 3 projects on GitHub. Then I make one more project, which is a food restaurant website, which took me around 2 months. Then the times begins, and in the December 2020 December, I found a post on LinkedIn of girls give intro of contributing. I get curious about open source. What is open source and how can I contribute it? I search on LinkedIn more about it. I search on Google. Then I registered in girls give intro of contributing. uh, it was very new to me, like people from all around the globe, and I was very thinking, should I continue or not? But when the first session begins, it was very friendly and very easy to use tutorials. Like I was very like it, which it's make me more curious about the technology. So after that I began, I learned in the first month of contribution, I learned about Git and GitHub. In the second month I start contributing on GitHub in Girls Give Intro of Contributing repository. So my mentor sir Parveen, which is also in today's session, so he helped me a lot. He tells me how GitHub works, and he, like, on every my peer he was helping me out, corrected, bro, this is not good, correct this. So he was very friendly. I would thanks him. He helped me a lot in my open source journey. Then the journey begins. I contributed in around uh, 3 domains: front end development, front end with JS, with frameworks, and in C++. So it was a tough in start, but as I start working on it, it get easy, and it I am enjoying it. So I did around, I create around 10 PRs in my in Girls Give Intro of Contributing, and I am the among top 5 contributors in front end development domain. So this is how my COVID time spent, and I learned a lot and explore more about the technology. So this is about my journey. Let's move on to the web development. Journey through web development. So you might guys use many websites in your daily life. Many of you use Google to search about many things. So Google is the most common website we use in daily life, and Microsoft Edge. So we use website, but we don't know how the website works. So let's discuss what happened when we hit enter. So what happened when you type a URL and hit enters? So you are the client, you are the user. You hit enter. Your URL sent to the server. Server search uh, in server search the URL address. So so it search this address. The you search the URL, but in the back end it was the address. Like, you live in a house, it has some address. So server is searching the address, what is hello world and where it is located. Then it find it and send you back, and you see the awesome website. The request sent through the this request sent to the server through APIs. APIs is like a postman. You got a client. You are the client. Uh, you give mail to the postman, which is API. It takes to the server and ask. ask the server, hey, I have this mail. Do you have this address and do you have any result about it? So server starts searching the results. Is any result matches the mail which postman came to him and asked him about it. So after searching the results, it gives to the API, which is a postman, and returns to the client. So that's how the website works, and this what happening in backend when you hit the enter for to search a website. So so do you have any questions about it, or is it clear?
It's clear for now. There are no questions in the chat.
Okay. So we discuss what is working and how website is working. So this is happening in backend. The request is sending to the server through internet. Request sent to the API through APIs and came back with result through APIs. So after all this work, you see the awesome websites like this as shown in this slide. So so now we discuss about the web development. What is web development? You might heard we want to develop a web. So basically, website is divided into two parts: front end and back end. What is showing on your screen is the front end, and which is you are not showing is the back end. So so what front end is the UI UX. It's the most important part in my opinion. You see the information clearly. It should be easy to use, easy to navigate, and easy to access the information. So this is, I think front end is the most important part than back end, because you do whatever you can do in back end, people don't see it, but front end is the thing which is user is seeing. So everything must be clear and simple and easy to use. Back end. So in today's session we are focusing on the front end. So what are the foundation of front end development? So there are three fundamentals of website: HTML, CSS, and JS. HTML is the structure, CSS is the appearance of the website, and JS make the website in action and make it dynamic. So here you can see the HTML is a skeleton. Without a skeleton, website cannot stand or cannot be created. Then you can see it's look good, beautiful after applying the CSS. Then in the end, after applying the JS, you can see the Lego is dancing and doing different steps. So this is the art of JavaScript. It make the website in action and make it more perfect, and you can make more things happen through JavaScript. So what is HTML? HTML is hypertext markup language. It's same as document you write on Word file. It includes heading, paragraphs, subheadings, hypertext, hyperlinks, images, videos, everything you use in Word. So it is similar as Microsoft Word, Office, Google Docs. So everything you type and just a document without a styling, it's a HTML. So let's discuss some text. The text is HTML. In Word file, you write directly the document, but in HTML, you have to use text to write the document or the structure of the website. So we use some markups. for main heading we use H1. For subheadings we have four tags: H2, H3, H4, H5. So as you can see in the code, for H1, for heading main heading I used H1, and you can see the output as well. It is a main heading. Then I use S2, which is a subheading. You can see clearly it is shown in the output. Then you can see there is a P tag, which is used for paragraph. So this is the output of paragraph tag. Then I emphasize. Then there is also an emphasize tag. Emphasize tag makes the text italic. So you can see in the output the text get italic. And there is also a button tag by which you can make button. And there are also many tags through you can take input fields and take different type of inputs through that. So these are the basic HTML tags. So let's discuss more about the HTML tags. So as we see, there is a hypertext in HTML. So hypertext is same as hyperlinks. You might see in Word document there is a link which moves to the next section, or it's used for download link or go to somewhere. So it's same as hyperlink. So as you can see, to add in HTML you use anchor tag. Basically it is a which is called anchor tag. So anchor tag, then you have h reference. H reference is where you place a link where you want the link to redirect it. So here you can add the link, then you can add the text on which you want to redirect it. So yes, then there is also a tag for image, img, where you add the source of the image. And you can also add alternative tag in case your image is not working properly, or it's not finding, so it show the alternative text. And you can also set the width and height of the image by using simply width and height. So as you can see in the output, it looks similar as in Word file, the anchor link. Then you can see the image. So by writing simple line of code, you can add image. So remember, HTML is only a plain text. It only represent the content. It don't do any designing or styling. It is only a plain text. So any question on HTML?
As far as we are right now, there's nothing as well. But we'll ask questions at the end of the session once you're done presenting.
Okay.
Yes.
So let's discuss about the CSS, which is the most interesting part. Cascading style sheets. So CSS is a different language, is used to create rules about style. Using CSS, you can make the text, you can decorate the text, you can increase the font size, or you can bold it, and you can change the font family as well using CSS. So let's took a look at the syntax. So here you can see uh, syntax it's written. So body body is a tag. Body is same is the document, the website you are seeing, complete website. So it's the body. So if you want to apply the CSS on body, uh, you will write body, and it's called a selector. And then you will add a property. If you want to change a color, you will write color. Or if you want to change If you want every size of the body or width or height of the body to be set, you will use height, width. But here we are seeing about the color. So here we are changing the body color. So is this is the syntax. You first write the selector, then the property, then value. Property values could be differ according to the property. So let's see more amazing properties of CSS. Background property, uh, text and fonts, which are very main thing in CSS. Then display, then animation. Then here is the website. By using these four properties, I make this website. Background, here you can see I add the background image using background property. I set the size of the background, and I use different text size and different fonts family in this website, as you can see. And there is also a padding and margin between the text, so it is also done through text and font property. As it is a responsive website, so I also use a relative display to make it responsive. I can also use fixed if I making for a specific screen size, but in this website I use a relative property. Then I use animation. The color of the text is changing, and the Mera Pakistan is continuously bouncing. Website is not hosted yet, but but in the when it is run on localhost, it you can see the Mera Pakistan is bouncing. Animation is added. City name is changing. So these three, you can create these beautiful websites using these amazing properties. So yeah, that's all about CSS. Now move to the JavaScript. So the most interesting part of front-end development is JavaScript. JavaScript is a programming language which allow you to perform action and change something about the page based on a particular event or condition. So JavaScript, as told you before, it make your website in action. Like a superhero, it do many actions. It can say it can be useful to download things or to change color or anything it can do using JavaScript. So JavaScript in front end. JavaScript can change the document. Document is basically what is the browser screen. When you open the website, the browser screen is the document. So JavaScript can change the document structure, style, content using DOM. DOM is the document object model. It is a programming interface for web documents. So JavaScript manipulate the DOM is manipulated through JavaScript. So let's see what can JavaScript do in front end. Through JavaScript, you can add new HTML tags and also modify it attributes. You can also uh, attributes and also create new as well. You can change the specific element or all the element CSS style using JavaScript. So the most amazing thing that you can create even listener and associate with an HTML. We will see the example in the next slide, but this is the events like on click, on change, on hover, on mouse over. You can see different events happening. Different things can be happen on click, move to the next page, or change the text, or change the color, or do the animation. You can do all these things using JavaScript. which is the art of JavaScript. So last, React to event associate within HTML. So you can create a single function and call it on various event listeners. Let's suppose you are creating expense calculator, or you want to change the expense. So on click it will calculate it, but you also want, if you update anything, it update the total amount automatically. So you also use event listener on change. So the same function could work on two different event listeners. So what is JavaScript event listeners? Event listeners are like event handlers, except that you can assign as many event listeners like to a particular event on a particular element. Common events which are on click, on change, on load, on mouse over, on key up, key down. So on click is the most common example you might see on many website. When you click on the website, something happens. uh, Models pop up, or notification shows, or notification bar updated. Something happens when you click on the button. So it done using event listeners. So as we click on the button, the text get updated. uh, but if you want to add a property when websites loads, you can simply use on load. You might see a loader when website is loading. It shows a loader, which is done using on load. Or on mouse over, the most common property, the most common thing you see in the games, when you uh, take your mouse over and over again to the character, it do some actions. And on key up and down, it's also mostly used in games. When you do key up, cards go up, towards forward, and when you do key down, the go backwards. So yeah, these are the things which are done using JavaScript. So this is about the JavaScript. We discussed the components of the website: HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. Now see, after doing all these things, how we can host it on, like how we can show to the world. So there is a service called Azure Static Web Apps that solve all the hard problems all the way from your source code to global availability. So using Azure Static Web Apps, you can host your website, and anyone can anywhere can see your website. So how you can do it? Your code simply uploaded on GitHub. From there, you do there is a action bar. You do host your website through actions on GitHub, and after that you do any updation on your repository or change the code. It automatically get updated. So we will see in action, and we will also use Azure Static Web Apps in the last session. Yeah, so this is all about the web development. So that's it. Let's see what we can do with what we just learned. So we see how the website is created, how website is developed, what is the structure of website, how to style it, and how to make how to add actions in websites through JavaScript. And lastly, we see how we can make the source code globally available, or host the website. So all these things we learn in this lesson. Yeah. So this is all about the today's session.
Um, uh, um,
So
I may
so any
continue.
question?
No question as yet. I was just saying that the session is going so well, but we may continue. I'll ask the questions at the end as you're about to finish.
Uh, I finished. The slide has been finished.
Okay, no problem. So I guess we can jump ahead to questions. First of all,
Yes.
before the questions, Praveen Kumar says thank you for the shout out, and he says he's having an interactive session. He was that's from the comment section, and yes,
Thank.
yeah. So basically, some of the questions that I'd like to ask is how can one get started with HTML and JavaScript and CSS?
Okay, so to get started with HTML CSS, you can go to the MDN documentations. You can see the basic syntax, basic structures to get started. It is very easy to it is very simple documentation. You can go through it and you can start uh, start with HTML CSS.
Oh, I see.
Or there is also a resource W3 School. You can also go through it.
Is it possible to share the links in the chat so we can share it with our viewers for them for them to have access with it
Yes,
as
yes,
well?
yes.
Um, the next question that
Let me.
while you're
Yes.
sharing that, the next question that I want to ask is how how long will it take for one to learn HTML and CSS? How long will it get started?
To get started with HTML CSS, it takes only 1 month to get started with it. It's a very simple thing. It needs just a practice. More you do practice, you get expert on it.
Oh, I see. Practice makes perfect, as they say.
Yes, yes.
Perfect. Yes. And then another question that I have over here is which one is your favorite out of all the three that you just mentioned?
Sorry, can you repeat it?
The question is which out of JavaScript, HTML, and CSS, which one do you prefer? Which one do you have like a favorite one to use?
I like JavaScript most because it makes using JavaScript I can add actions, I can manipulate HTML, CSS.
Hmm.
So my favorite is JavaScript.
I see. Okay, that's very enlightening. Thank you for that. And a last question that we have over here is would we be able to see some practical sessions or an example of everything that you just talked about right now today?
Hmm. In the last session, we were going to do a live coding session. So if somebody wants how HTML works and how it get connected to it, how HTML, CSS, and JavaScript works, how HTML, CSS, and JavaScript works. So we will doing in the last session.
Okay, in the next session. So you hear that, folks. The next section on Inspire Essay, we'll be doing a live session to see everything that Mohammed just spoke about into a live practice, a practical example of it. Practical example. So yeah, that's the some of the questions that we have right now. Besides that, there's some also shout outs from Muhammad Aman saying very informative session, keep it up. And then Ababola, I hope I'm pronouncing your name correctly. She says that it was a very enlightening session as well. This was very enlightening session. So those are some of the comments that are coming through from the comment section. Um,
Thank you, Nader.
yes. So one more question that I want to ask is: it possible to add videos and pictures on our website for some of us
Yes,
who are curious?
yes, it is possible. You can also add images by using image tag, and you can also include video. You can also include YouTube video. There is a tag called iframe.
iFrame.
So both the things can be added in website.
I see. Okay, cool. The last question for today is: do you have any advice for anyone getting started with HTML and CSS and JavaScript?
Yes, be consistent. Never stop doing it. It might be irritating at first, but as you move forward, it get more interesting, and you will start enjoying it. So be consistent, never stop it.
Okay, thank you for that. That's really good advice, I have to say. So we have come to the end of today's session. It was very informative, it was very enlightening, and a big thank you to the participants who came through in the chat for joining us in our session today. We have come to the end. Before we go, we'll also like to invite Kiran to say something as she's also on the call before we go. Kiran, would you like to say a few
So
words?
Yes, hello everyone. Great effort, Samuela. It was very informative and I love to hear you. Just a quick announcement that the next session will be on open source. So, if you are all curious to know about open source, please join us in the next part of this series. And yeah, thank you so much for all joining. Thank you.
No
thank
problem.
you, everyone.
Yes. Kiran will be giving us our next session next week on open source. Be sure to tune in for that. Other than that, another big thank you for joining us today. Please don't forget to share and like and share our videos. Tell your friends about it, subscribe, and we'll see you next time. Thank you again for coming and joining us. Bye.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Thank
Thank you.
you very much. Bye.
Bye.